There's a lot of discussion going on right now about what to do in order to address some of the cultural and societal issues that we're facing right now vis-a-vis race, policing, crime, and interrelated issues like those. What do? Well, Kamala Harris yesterday, the senator from California, who of course was running for president of the United States, she was on ABC this week. This was on Good Morning America yesterday with George Stephanopoulos. Kamala Harris was there, and she had this to say about what she believes needs to be done in order to help address these issues.
George, we all witnessed the tragic murder of George Floyd. The people protesting in the streets are protesting what has been a long-standing issue in America that needs to be addressed. And it can be done in a way that does not require us to create fear in people. The reality of it all is this. There needs to be accountability and consequence for anyone who breaks the law and breaks the rules. And so what we're talking about in our package of bills is doing just that. And separately, we really do have to get to a point where we agree that the status quo way of thinking about achieving safety is really wrong when it assumes that the best way to achieve more safety is to put more police on the streets. It's just wrong. You know how you create more safety? You fund public schools, and it wouldn't be the case that in America today, 2/3 of our public school teachers come out of their own pocket to help pay for school supplies. The way you create more safety is people have access to health care, and it's affordable. The way you create more safety is the jobs in the community and economic opportunities and access to capital. And you can look at any middle or upper middle class suburb in America. You don't see police presence there, but what you do see there are good schools.
So does that mean
people have jobs? They have incomes that help them get through the end of the month.
So does that mean you support proposals like what we've seen in Los Angeles, Mayor Eric Garcetti saying, take some of the money from policing, about $150 million, invest it in health initiatives, training initiatives for youth?
I support investing in communities so that they become more healthy and therefore more safe. Right now, what we're seeing in America is many cities spend over 1/3 of their entire city budget on policing. But meanwhile, we've been defunding public schools for years in America. We've got to re-examine what we're doing with American taxpayer dollars and ask the question, are we getting the right return on our investment? Are we actually creating healthy and safe communities? And that's a legitimate conversation, and it requires a really critical evaluation. I applaud Eric Garcetti for doing what he's done.
So does it mean, bottom line, we need fewer police on the streets of America right now?
It means that we need to invest in communities, George. It means that we need to invest in educating our children when, if you look at it over a course of time, we have defunded public schools in America.
So there's a lot there, including two main points. One, we need to invest in our communities. And what does that mean? We need government to spend more money on chosen programs, as though spending more money on chosen programs is going to improve those programs, improve the things that those government activities are supposed to improve. So, for example, if you have different community-based initiatives that are centered on certain groups or improving certain aspects of society and they're government run, you just throw more money at it and that's going to solve the problem. By the way, we had Dr. Walter E. Williams on the show several weeks ago, and he pointed out how all the government spending on different social programs and welfare programs and what have you has not done much at all to help minority communities out. In fact, it's hurt them more than it has helped them with these government initiatives. That's point one on the idea of investing in our communities. Whenever you hear a politician say, we need to invest in our communities, invest in this program or that program, that just means spending more taxpayer dollars because they think that those taxpayer dollars will be best spent in the way they would like to spend it. Now let's go to her question or her point about defunding schools. She says we've been defunding public schools in this country for years. That's fundamentally false. There's not even a bit of veracity to that. There is truth, as we'll get to in a moment, to the idea that teachers are underpaid. But the idea that we've been defunding public schools is nonsense. Let's put up pick 2. The Manhattan Institute last year did a study entitled Issue 2020, Public School Spending is at an all-time high. And they note among their key findings, number 1, thanks to decades of increases, America spends more per student than any other major developed nation. Per pupil expenditures in this country have nearly tripled over the past half century, from $4,720 in 1966 to $13,847 in 2016 in 2018 dollars for both of those. So it's been adjusted for inflation. America spends more per pupil than any other major developed nation, 10% more than in the United Kingdom and 28% more than in France. In the OECD, only Norway, Switzerland, and Luxembourg spend more per student than here in the United States. And then let's put up pick 2, also from the Manhattan Institute report. Often cited is this 2017 study and claim by the Center on Budget and Policy Priorities, noting that, quote, 29 states provided less overall state funding per student in 2015 school year, the most recent year available, than in the 2008 school year before the recession took hold. But as the Manhattan Institute points out, focusing predominantly on state spending, which accounts for only about 45% of total dollars spent, was misleading. Thanks in part to increased federal spending, national per-pupil expenditures fell by only $631 from the 2008-2009 school year to 2012-2013, but have increased every year since then, surpassing pre-recession levels to reach an all-time high in 2017, the latest year for which national data are available, again, in 2018 dollars. Bottom line, those like Kamala Harris who say that we have slashed funding for public K-12 education, who claim that we have defunded, systematically defunded public schools, are either ignorant or they are misleading you. I tend to think that Kamala Harris knows the facts and is intentionally misleading the public. Now, the reality is that spending more money on education and other programs doesn't mean there will be greater outcomes. The data are very clear on this, especially when it comes to education spending. The thing that could lead more to improved outcomes is the allocation of money. Kamala Harris is right that far too many educators are paying out of their own pockets, especially those in lower income schools, for their students. It's true. I've spoken to a number of teachers myself in my own work and in my own personal life who have told me stories of how they're buying tissues, they're buying pens, they're buying crayons, they're buying paper, they're buying any number of things for their classrooms, some spending over $1,000 a year out of their own pockets to get basic supplies, not just, hey, I want to do this special project and so I need additional money for that. What we need is more money to go into the classroom and less money to go to administration. In fact, in a great many states, we have seen significant increases in K-12 education spending, for example, here in Colorado, that has not been going to teachers. In fact, some research in some states like Colorado shows that teachers are paid less today than they were 30 years ago, despite increases in spending. That's absurd. And it's because there's so much money going into the coffers for administration in public K-12 schools. So Kamala Harris is right that we need to be focusing better on the public school system. I'm a big advocate of public education, always have been. I've worked with hundreds of public school teachers in my own nonprofit work in the past. So I understand that. But it's not by spending more money from federal government coffers or taxpayer dollars at the state level. It's about reallocating how those funds are used and also changing up some of the ways in which we measure K through 12 education that require a lot of this red tape, that require a lot of these administrative agents in order to comply with federal standards and state standards and things along those lines. But to just say, no, we need to spend more, we need to reallocate money from police to these other programs, doesn't mean you are going to get better outcomes. And by the way, it just might mean that police are going to be pulling over more people in order to meet increased quotas for speeding or going through a red light or other things. They're going to step up that kind of enforcement. But in some cities, by the way, police are actually a net revenue gain for those cities because of those tickets. Let's keep that in mind as well. Bottom line, public K through 12 education. We need good quality education. Senator Harris is right there. We need to make sure teachers are paid more and paid better and given more support for supplies. But how do you accomplish both of those objectives? By spending the money that's going to schools smartly, not in a way that has reckless disregard for the budgeting process. Thanks for watching this clip of Jimmy at the Crossroads. Don't miss more engaging, intelligent talk. Subscribe today to the Jimmy at the Crossroads YouTube channel. You do not want to miss our live show. Thanks for your support.
I got Jimmy at the crossroads, making sense out of no sense. Yeah.